Well, Zach, the last couple of months have been some really good performances, and the results aren't there to follow. Is that more or less frustrating than playing badly and knowing that you're struggling?
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating because we're putting in some good performances, like you say, and it's just that last cutting edge. I think that we need to turn and just get that click in, and once that does, then I think those draws will turn into wins. But yeah, it is frustrating because you come off the pitch thinking, we've played well there and we've not got the result, and you look and you try and evaluate what that was, and it's a very it is a frustrating feeling when you come off. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it's quite frustrating.
Because I was just thinking back through some of the not even that recent games. So Watford before the break, Sheffield United, you were a much better team. You ended up losing it. You could say the same at the weekend. The 2 away games. There's a real body of evidence there showing that you're doing okay, but the results aren't following.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think you guys are in the building today. There's not a dark doomy gloom feel about the place, and it's like, because we're putting in the good performances, we're doing the right things in the game for spells in the games anyway, and I think we just need to drag those spells a bit longer and make sure that we're dominating, like you say, in the Watford game, Sheffield United game, dominating and making sure that we capitalise when we are dominating. Because there's good teams in this league. We're not going to be able to dominate for 90 minutes of the game, but we have to make sure that when we are dominating, we capitalise and we're shoring it up and locking it up at the back.
And it just seems like it's turned around a little bit in terms of the start of the season. You're scoring for fun and maybe conceding a few too many. The last couple of months, I think you've defensively been much better, but the goals are dried up a bit.
Yeah. Once we gel, we'll be fine, eh? No, yeah, I know what you mean. It's frustrating, like you say, because it is something where you look at and go, okay, now we've got to then tweak that and try and do this and try things to make ourselves a more I don't want to say cohesive unit, but like a more gelled unit, so that we are, when we're going forward, we have that confidence that we're going to put the ball in the back of the net, and vice versa. When they're attacking, they have the confidence in us that we're not going to concede. But like you say, yeah, defensively, from a defender's standpoint, we're doing well, and we have to just make sure that we continue it.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought personally for you, one thing that's been really noticeable this year is your distribution. Is that something you worked on? I'm sure you work on it constantly, but have you paid particular attention to it? Because it's absolutely gone up, a lot.
Yeah, no, it's something that I've tried to up my game in all aspects this season. And in possession, I think there can be, if we're trying to pass the ball a lot more, then me, Cal, Rob, whoever is at the back is important with their distribution and starting phases and starting attacks. So I think for myself, I've looked at that and tried to improve little areas and just try and give myself that extra 1% or that extra little lift in any area that I feel like it was needed.
Because it's that comfort on the ball, isn't it? Because it's not that long ago, defenders were just there, right? Keep your clean sheet. If you can launch it down the pitch, that's so much the better. But the whole game has changed, hasn't it? Probably in the last decade or so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you see how these defenders are creating chances and playing higher up the field and playing kind of like midfielders, some of them, at the top level and stuff. So I mean, it's great to see, because it gives you that freedom as well and gives you that license to be able to try things and take a calculated risk. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with how my season's going and how that aspect of my game is going.
And you mentioned Cal and Rob, and obviously you've played as a group three at the back for much of the last 18 months or so. Switched it up in the last game, changed to a 4, and it made a real impact at half time. The manager's saying it's possible you could switch. Does it make much difference to you in terms of your responsibilities?
No, not really. Of course, little tweaks will happen. I'm not going to be as wide when I'm defending and little things like that. But if I'm playing in that middle 2, then it's the same principles. Keep the ball at the back of the net.
It's not a difficult game, is it? Last time you played, Birmingham's probably one that the whole team would like to forget. They're a team that certainly on that occasion took advantage of set pieces.
Yeah, no, for sure. That the reverse fixture was well below standard for us, and like you say, they did try and capitalise on the set pieces, and that's something that we have to be wary on, and we know the threats that they pose, and we have to stand up to it. Like we didn't do that last game, and we have to do that this game.
People talk about revenge. I'm never sure it's quite like that, but is it in the back of your mind when you'd be running out on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you know that if you go to a team and you know they've done you over like that, you wanna make sure that it doesn't happen again. Like you say, you don't want to use the word revenge and stuff, but of course it is a factor of like, okay, you know, we want to make sure that we get a win here and not sort of lose twice over them over the season. You know, we want to make sure that we go out there and put our best foot forward and make sure that we are putting ourselves in the best situation to get a win.
Thank you, Zak.
Sure, nice.
Just on the statistics, you've seen a marked improvement in the squad and defending Birmingham side this season.
Yeah, I think we have been. I think we have stood up to it. You know, we haven't really tweaked much. We haven't changed much, but I think maybe it's a mental attitude to stand up to it and go, you know what, we're not going to concede here because we conceded too many last year and we conceded too many, I think, in general. And it's something that maybe like collectively we've all thought. Well, sorry, personally, we've all thought, okay, we need to change this.
Just as a general atmosphere around the players at the moment, I mean, now just spoken about the pressure that's on him recently, does that filter to the players in the field? Do the players feel that pressure?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the same, you know, we're sort of on the pitch, you know, we're losing the games or drawing the games, whatever. So we're feeling the pressure, and we're not. It's a collective unit, you know, and we're not trying to shy away from that. You know, when we lose or we draw or we deserve to get more in a game, we feel it just as much as the fans, just as much as the gaffer, just as much as the next person, you know, and it's frustrating, and we have to try and channel that in the right way, I think.
How would you do that as you as a team kind of cut out the negativity?
Well, I think we have a good group. That's where it starts, you know. We, like I said, it's not, you guys have been in the building, it's not doom and gloom here, you know, because the performances have been right. We just know that it's the last little bit that we need to change, and we have the quality, you know. So it is quite not easy to cut out the negativity, because it still hurts you when you're in a couple of days later or whatever. You're in the next day, and you have to go through it, and you have to sort of get it out your system a little bit. But it's a situation where I think, you know, as a group, pull together. If you see someone that is a bit down, you just get around them, put your arm around them, and you move on with them, you know.
I think Nigel sat here a few weeks ago and said that you were the most reliable defender in the squad at the moment. Just want to know how that kind of makes you feel, especially.
I didn't know who said that. Sorry. It's nice to hear. I mean, for myself this season, I feel like I've had a good season. I'm just trying to just keep it rolling. You know, I'm not trying to think too much about it. I'm just trying to. I know it's a big cliche, just think about the next one, but it is literally that. You know, I'm not trying to think too deeply about it. I'm just getting on with business.
Just on the kind of mental side of the game, for you to come back and deliver these consistent performances, what does it take to turn that around? Is it game time? Is it trust? Is it confidence? Is it everything?
I think it's all of the above. You know, I think it's a sense of, you know, wanting it as well, wanting to. I don't want to say prove anyone wrong, but it is a little bit like that, you know, and then sort of feel like your back's against the wall, you want to stand up and go, you know what, I 100% can do this. I've shown previously that I can do this, and I want to make sure that I'm always showing that I can do this. So it is a confidence thing. It is a trust thing, for sure. It is a game time thing. You know, I think all players are going to look a little bit shaky if they get one game in, one game out, and that's just sort of football, I guess. But yeah, like you say, I think it is a confidence thing, but mostly it's all of those things together that will sort of merge in and help the cause.
Obviously, on Sunday, Rob had that early on, and in fairness to him, he came back from that really well. He was pretty faultless after that. Do you want to know how difficult is it to kind of come back when in a game, and if you commit an individual error like that, how difficult is it to
Yeah, well, obviously, like you say, Rob showed amazing mental strength to, you know, continue, and like you say, I thought he had a really good game after that. Of course, it's in your mind, but you have to do as best you can to forget about it. You know, try and get a touch on the ball as quick as you can. That's what I would like to do. You know, if that's the case, I want to get a touch on the ball as quick as possible. Obviously, it's a bit harder from centre half, but you want to try and get on the ball as much as you can, so you can kind of put it behind you with the next pass and the next pass, or whatever it may be. But yeah, like you say, I think Rob had a great turnaround in that game, and I thought he played well after that mistake. So he was in good spirits to an extent, you know, and trying to turn it around, and he did. So fair play to him.
How's that partnership going with George Tanner on that right hand side? He's coming in. I thought you two looked really solid from defensively.
Yeah, no, Georgie's great. You know, I get on really well with him, and he's a good player. You know, he's come in and he's shown that he's capable to play every week, and that's what he's doing. You know, he's doing really well, and you know, I really like playing down that side with him.
Just ask on your contract situation. Has there been an update at the moment? I understand the year option, has that been activated?
Like, you know as much as me, mate. I'll be honest with you.
All right. Cheers. Thanks very much.
No worries.
Hi, Zach. You've played 6 more matches this season already than you did the whole of last season. Did you see yourself having this big of a role in the team at the start of the campaign?
To be honest, I saw myself playing. Where that was, like I've said previously, where that was, I didn't know, but I saw myself playing this year. That was a goal that I set out. I was going to play football this season. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I have been given that role, and I'm happy that role is something that, you know, the responsibility is falling on me to play the majority of games, and I'm more than happy to grab that with 2 hands and run with it.
And there was a lot of speculation last summer, like you say, about where your future would be. How rewarding is it to see your hard work and persistence following different loan spells to finally kind of come through here?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. You know, I had that season a couple of years ago, the sort of the COVID season, where I played a lot of football then, and that was sort of a first taste of playing week in, week out at City here. So I was, you know, I loved that, and again, just trying to continue to build on that and that sort of consistency and that progression, really.
In the transfer window, obviously a lot of players are looking over their shoulder, don't know where they'll be come the end of the window. You obviously experienced that last summer. What's that like as a player, trying to concentrate on your own club but knowing there's...
Yeah, I mean, it's an uncertain time. Of course it is. If you know, you're getting told left, right, and centre, this, that, and the other. But again, for me personally, I find it alright. I find it quite easy because I leave that to someone else to deal with. You know, I leave that to my agent to deal with, and then I crack on with what I want to do, and I crack on with what I can control. You know, I can't control what happens outside of what I can do. So it wasn't too difficult, to be honest with you. Obviously, it was a little bit uncertain, but it wasn't too difficult, to be honest.
Joe Lowe recently gone out on loan to Warsaw. You've been in that situation as a youngster, had a few loan spells out.
Yeah.
Did you speak with him at all about the loan move and how to get?
I didn't, but I've spoke to him when he's been here, you know, and he's asked questions about my loans and stuff, and I've definitely chatted to him and said for me it was amazing. It was the best thing that I could have done because I knew that I wasn't going to play here. So I was buzzing to get out on loan and play league football and gain that experience that, you know, I probably wouldn't have got if I was sitting at Bristol City and not playing. And it's gonna be great for him. You know, he's a good player. He's definitely going to go and excel there. And I didn't get the chance to tell him that, but he knows that. And yeah, no, definitely. We've had chats about it before it was even the window, like months ago and stuff, when he was up here and stuff. So yeah, I hope he goes and smashes it.
And I know his senior debut wouldn't have been what he wanted. But do you think going forward in a few years' time he could be a big part of this City defence?
For sure. The guy's 6'9" built. No, I'm joking, but yeah, he's a great player. He's a good lad, and like I said, with a bit of experience and a bit of know-how, football know-how, he'll be a top player for sure.
Thomas Callas has been back in training recently. How does that kind of spark you to keep your consistency levels up, knowing there's a player coming back and obviously the team potentially switching to 4 at the back at times?
For sure, you know, it's even if Thomas wasn't near it, you know, I would have to keep my standards up. But for sure, like you say, the healthy competition is always welcomed. You know, everyone wants to have a healthy competition. If you're not in the shirt, then you want to be pushing the person that's there to take the shirt. You know, and that's just how it is in football. And I think that environment is a good one. I think personally, I think it is, because then everybody is making sure that they're right at it in training. No one's standards will drop, no one's standards will slip, and we want to make sure that we can keep everybody at it.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
No worries.
Hi Zach, you alright?
What's going on, man?
Obviously before this season you were more of a right back. How have you found that transition more central in the defence?
I've enjoyed it. I came through the ranks of City as a centre half, and then obviously to try and get my way into a first team. I sort of played right back, and obviously I played a lot of games at right back. Season at Rotherham, I played at right back, and I've always felt slightly more comfortable, a bit more central. So for me, it's been a nice thing, and I've felt like I've done that transition quite well, and I like it.
Nice one. And obviously there's a lot of attention around like the lack of penalties, especially this week after Sunday with a couple of good shouts. How does that affect you personally and as a team, mentally going into a game, or when those things happen during a game?
Yeah, I mean during a game, especially on Sunday, it's frustrating. No player's going to say it's not. When you feel like you have a couple of sort of clear-cut shouts for a penalty, but again, you have to try and in a game you're not really. If it doesn't get given, you get annoyed for a couple of seconds, and then you have to focus on the next thing that's happening. And then obviously afterwards, you sort of go, oh, how was that not a pen? Or how, do you know what I mean? You then talk about it a little bit. But for me, I think it's not too difficult to in the game to try and focus on something else, because you keep playing, you're in the moment, you're thinking about it, and yeah, it's still frustrating on the pitch. You still will have a go at the ref, and you'll be pleading your cause, but you have to kind of try and switch back on, straight away. Obviously, if you're the one that's getting taken down, it's probably a bit more difficult, but at the back, I try and switch back on as quick as I can.
And we were talking to Nigel earlier, and he said, it's quite a big anomaly that Bristol City haven't had a penalty in that amount of time. What are your opinions on that?
I'll be honest, I didn't know it was that long. When I heard the stat, it did blow my mind a little bit. So yeah, it is a crazy situation, and that's all I can say really. It's out of my hands, isn't it?
yeah, that's all from me.
No worries.
Thank you.
Hi Zach. You've mentioned how Joe Lowe's in that position you were in several years ago. What does it mean to you to have such an important role at a club you've fought so long to get to the first team before?
Yeah, it's a massive sense of pride. It's rewarding for myself, but I'm not sort of satisfied and settled with that. I want to kick on again. I want to make sure that I'm always improving and always taking steps to push myself to the next level, and develop my game. So like you say, it is great that Joe's going to go out and he's going to start that journey now, and I hope he does really well, and I think he will do really well, and like you say, for myself, it's definitely a big sense of pride to go out on loan and gain the experience and come back and then use the experience, and get the chance to actually use the experience that you've learned and just progress as a player.
You mentioned about kicking on there and then looking ahead to the rest of the season. What are your aspirations for the remaining games left?
We need to win some more games, and it is as simple as that. We need to turn those draws into wins. We need to keep the performance levels as they are. I think in certain games we definitely need to keep the performance levels as we are, and like I said earlier on, we need to just drag those spells out that we have in games to sort of be a bit more dominant in some of the games. And like we said earlier on, there's been a lot of games this season that we've done well in but not got the result, and we just need to find a way to turn that. And and if it is just that final pass, or it is that that last ditch tackle or whatever it might be, we need to make sure we're just consistently doing that in every game to turn the results our way and to turn the luck our way, and kick on.
Great, thank you.
No worries.
Superb.
Sweet.
Thank you, Zach.
No worries.
Good luck.
No worries.